One Piece chapter 1081, and man, Oda did not disappoint. I think this is the first time that we're actually seeing two top tiers fight on screen, that being Garp and Aokiji. A very surprising matchup that I think was possible, but I wasn't sure what direction Oda was going to take this. It could have been either Garp versus Blackbeard, or Garp versus Shiryu, or Garp versus Aokiji, depending on who was on that ship going to Egghead. But the situation that we have right here is way more interesting because these two characters are tied. Again, I've said this before, but Oda is on a roll with these chapters. Like, we haven't had a bad chapter in a minute, guys. And the thing is, it just keeps on getting better and better as we progress towards the culmination of whatever this is going to lead toward. So I really wonder where this is all heading. Elbaf is definitely a contention at this point because a lot of characters, there's a lot of hands being pointed towards Elbaf, and I think more than likely that is going to be the next melting point in which all these top tiers are going to arrive at the same time. We did also get a result on one of the battles that Oda started alongside Kid versus Shanks, and that also seems to have been resolved in a similar fashion, and so we will get into that later on in this video. But again, before we keep going, guys, I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Let's go for 500 likes as usual. Hit the bell if you want to see more content, and subscribe if you are new. Now let's start from the beginning. Garp versus Aokiji. Now this is a very interesting matchup because these two characters are correlated because both of them are Marines, and Marines that did have a specific relationship back when they were younger. Aokiji being Garp's former apprentice or protege, and so this encounter here can lead to a lot of interesting things happen. Now obviously we know that Aokiji does have a goal in mind, a goal that we're not aware of, and obviously he's using Blackbeard as a stepping stone to get where he wants, right? And that's why he was willing to attack Garp in this chapter, because we do know that he froze Hibari in this chapter because it would look bad if he didn't do anything if Teach was away, so it would raise suspicion amongst his ranks within the Blackbeard pirate. And talking about ranks, it is confirmed that Kuzan is indeed the 10th Titanic commander of the Blackbeard Pirates, something that we saw as a potential or a possibility, but we didn't really think too much of it because it was too obvious, right? We thought that it was going to be someone special, but it was right in our face this whole time, and it makes a lot of sense too. It's just that it was kind of overshadowed because it was too obvious. So it does seem like Kuzan did join the Blackbeard Pirates, and it's very interesting how he joined because he actually came to Hachinosu by himself, and he actually was causing issues on the island, freezing Sandro and Wolf, and of course Blackbeard noticed this and arrived. Now interestingly, this is 1 year after the duel he had with Akainu, right? So at this point he was a freelance, and I feel like he came to this island with this energy because I don't think Blackbeard at that point could have defeated him. I'm not sure, but if anything he was more hostile towards the Blackbeard Pirates because it feels like he was much stronger than them, of course with the exception of Blackbeard. But of course, given Blackbeard's personality and how he rules Hachinosu as this pirate's paradise, his interaction with Blackbeard was actually more welcoming than any. It's very similar to how Rox was doing things, and we're sort of seeing that with Blackbeard here. Now interestingly, the man marked by flames was also brought into question here, a character that Kid mentioned towards the end of Wano. And according to what Blackbeard says here, he mentioned that the man marked by flames might actually have one of the road poneglyphs, or at least the last one where we don't know the location. Now a lot of people thought that it was an Elbaf, but we aren't sure. It seems like this character more than likely is gatekeeping the last. Interestingly, Shiryu does say that there is a potential that he's with the war government, and it wouldn't be surprising if the war government kept a stone for themselves, preventing people from claiming the One Piece. And it is also mentioned that this individual also rides a pitch black ship, and anyone that sails near it ends up getting swallowed by a giant warp, so he might have a devil fruit ability on top of everything. So this character is actually more interesting now because in the beginning we assumed that this individual more than likely is So because he was burned from the Ohara incident, but that might not be the case, especially considering what the Blackbeard Pirates are saying. So might not be the man marked by his flames, even though it could be a deviation tactic from Oda once again. So it seems like this last poneglyph and this individual marked by flames is going to be the next point of contention, and everything seems to be leading towards Elbaf at this point in time. So it seems that Elbaf is going to become the next melting point for all these top tiers to meet up at. And again, given that Kid was the first person to mention the man marked by flames, that might be the person that Kid might be with right now. We don't know, but I feel like it is is interesting that Oda had Kid talk about this individual, maybe because he plans on tying these two characters together. So I like where this is going. But this flashback essentially gave us the reason in which Kuzan was able to join the Blackbeard Pirates, and I think both characters are aware that each of them is trying to take advantage of the other. And even Blackbeard agrees with this, in which he talks about how they profit from having their own agendas. That's what makes them pirates, and he tells Kuzan that he's free to do anything at this, and essentially that's how Kuzan joined the Blackbeard Pirates. Again, backstabbing might happen, but it does seem like each character is aware. And again, when it comes to the Blackbeard Pirates, we know that half of his crew isn't exactly loyal to Blackbeard. At this point in time, they're just following him because he's one of the strongest in the world right now, and he has leeway to a lot of things that would benefit their own agendas. So we shouldn't be surprised if any of the Impel Down escapees were to betray Blackbeard at some point in the story. But of course, Blackbeard is also aware of that. So I really like this dynamic that we're getting with Blackbeard's pirate crew, because it is very interesting. Now, when it comes to Garp versus Aokiji, now the battle for the most part has just started, but it seems like the edge is definitely with Kuzan here. And of course, even though Garp is old, he is still very, very powerful, right? We see that he was able to escape from Aokiji's attack and attack Aokiji back with a Conqueror's Haki blow that sent him down into the earth. And we're seeing Garp constantly use advanced Conquerors, and I wouldn't blame him because he's dealing with Logias, whose abilities are one-shot material, and there's really no other Haki that can bypass the hacksness of the Admiral Trio. In order to deal with your Devil Fruits, you need advanced Haki, because regular armaments and regular observation is not going to help you in this case. You need Rio and you need advanced Conquerors, and of course that's what Garp is using. And interestingly, in terms of Garp, after the Galaxy Impact, he did also mention that he lost his touch. So we're seeing that he's definitely not up to par of what he used to be, and that's being made very apparent whenever he was throwing those cannonballs at Luffy back in Enies lobby. So we're seeing that with old age, stamina might be a thing, and also attack potential. The Haki is not as powerful as it used to be, though more than likely I think that they can tap into their prime selves, but not for very long, because it would have tremendous strain on your body. Because Haki, even though it's a spiritual ability, it also has a physical strain on the user's body, especially the more advanced Hakis, right? So again, even though Garp is very powerful and is probably still a top tier, I think more than likely he is going to lose this fight. Even though Garp has the edge here with the blue hole attack, it does seem that Aokiji hasn't used any new attacks, and the attack that he used in this chapter was a pre-time skip attack that he used on Whitebeard, in which Whitebeard was able to get out of very easily in his old age and sickness. So it's no surprise that Garp would be able to get out of it. But I think it's very clear that this is not going to end in Garp's favor. But I do think that Garp is going to show us or surprise us with how powerful he used to be. But again, I have Aokiji taking a dub on this one. But I do think that this is definitely a better situation for Garp. Even though he's facing his former disciple, Aokiji can do things that could leeway into Garp surviving later. Because if this was Blackbeard and Garp had to fight Blackbeard, Blackbeard more than likely will kill Garp. And so Aokiji being the one to stop Garp here is actually a good thing, because it can ensure Garp surviving right here. Though it's going to be very interesting to see the reactions of the other commanders when Aokiji doesn't want to kill Garp, because that could turn into a whole different situation. So right now, Aokiji is definitely proving himself to Blackbeard and showing his worth of trustiness towards a Blackbeard pirate. And again, I'm not even ruling out the possibilities of these two putting up a show, because these two are very sword-like characters. But we'll see what happens moving forward with this. Very, very interesting. Now, moving on to Blackbeard versus Law. Now we get a resolution to this battle, just like we did with Kid versus Shanks. And again, just like Kid, we do also get the narrator saying that the Heart Pirates were defeated on this day. Now, in contrast to Kid versus Shanks, Law looks way better in this situation, because it does seem like he put on a good fight, because we do see that Blackbeard is bloodied and huffing and puffing. It does seem that Law put in a lot of work. And we have to take into account that Blackbeard was here with multiple commanders with Devil Fruits, and Law just had Beppo and John Bart. Granted, they did have some little advantage because the sea was very close close by, but this was very impressive from Law for him to stay alive this long against the Yonko. With Blackbeard having way more heavy hitters, I think Law getting defeated by Blackbeard here is not as bad because he was easily at a disadvantage. But unlike Kid, which we don't necessarily know what his status right now, we know for a certain that Law survived here because we do see that Beppo actually goes into Sulong form without the moon and attack the Blackbeard pirates from killing Law and then escaping into the sea. Now they did leave their crew behind, but Beppo was saying that they will survive and that things will not end. Now as to how Kid and Law are going to come back in story as, I'm not sure, but I do think that they will bounce back in some way, shape, or form. So I'm actually glad that Law survived here, and we do know that he has some end game purpose, right? He wants to see the world for what it is, and this was something that was implemented to him by Corazon, and so I think that dream that he wants is going to be realized, and of course it has end game ties, so we will see Law once again, and I think the same would apply for Kid as well. I don't think these characters are dead. They will come back in some way, shape, or form because of how polarizing these characters are. Law was just one of those characters that had such an impact on the post time skip of One Piece. I don't see Oda letting him go like this. But this was an amazing chapter. I mean, Oda is just delivering on everything that we've ever wanted from One Piece. From getting to see top tiers fight to Yonko showing their true power. There's a lot of things going on right now, and it is so exciting, and man, what a time to be a One Piece fan, because we're just getting amazing stuff right now. But that is pretty much it for this video, guys. I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like on this video. Comment down below what you guys think. Hit the bell if you want to get notified for more content on this channel. Subscribe if you're new here, and you can follow me on Twitter at Ferris. But it is Pharaoh, guys, and I will see you folks later. Peace.